The VT-7 Vagrant is a lightweight trainer and patrol aircraft, emphasizing vertical takeoff and multi-role mission capability. Trading payload capacity for logistical flexibility, the Vagrant excels in forward deployment near enemy positions. While a generally lightweight weapons package limits its strike capabilities, the Vagrant can place these weapons precisely thanks to its forgiving flight model and well-balanced 3-point VTOL system. Designed as both a trainer and backbone naval fighter, the Vagrant is intended to be economical and reliable, a feat not commonly seen in vertical takeoff jets, though the sacrifices made to achieve this become obvious in the air. Stealth composites and geometries are sacrificed to provide a robust airframe. Afterburners and pitch vectoring thrust are eliminated in favor of ducted engine nozzles with a wide, stable downward sweep. Armor and flight system redundancies are stripped to save on dry weight, allowing its single, powerful drive system to easily lift the airframe even when fully loaded. These trade-offs allow the Vagrant to maintain a compact footprint, ideal for use on carrier decks. Its broad, flat wings sweep gently down and to the rear, balancing low-speed stability with responsive roll and pitch controls. When combined with its unique 3-nozzle VTOL system, the Vagrant can sustain shockingly low operational speeds. Hover mode is reliable up to max payload, though, as with the Vortex, lighter is better, allowing sustainable hover at lower throttle positions with less heat generated. Under general flight conditions, the Vagrant is mellow and efficient, a result of its single, oversized engine. Operational speeds can be sustained on as little as 50% throttle, but it loses energy quickly when turning aggressively, requiring high throttle positions and some recovery time between maneuvers. Handling characteristics are excellent at all throttle positions and speeds. Pitching turns hold steady as the angle attack increases, right up to the limit, where the wings let go and spin the Vagrant out. VTOL allows for effective recovery at all speeds and most altitudes, but the process requires the pilot's undivided attention and will usually result in defeat during combat encounters. Pilots should note that while the Vagrant can hover reliably, this system remains unfit for general combat and should not be used to imitate a helicopter. Heat signatures in hover mode are unacceptably high, making it difficult to flare off inbound thermal missiles or to evade optical guidance, especially at close range. Operational speeds should remain above 200 km per hour to prevent optical missile targeting. VTOL allows the Vagrant to access all helicopter and field resupply points, keeping it close to the front lines and allowing for much faster resupply of its limited ammunition reserves. It can additionally enter and exit airfields using approach vectors that minimize traffic disruption and allow direct access to ammo and fuel trucks without extended ground maneuvering. As a carrier aircraft, the Vagrant features reinforced landing gear with a wide stance and low center of gravity. This landing system can withstand direct contact with unprepared ground, but is unfit for conventional taxi and takeoff across these surfaces. The Vagrant provides 4 symmetric hardpoints with options to split the center pylon for a maximum of 5 total hardpoints. The heaviest weapon available at the time of writing is a GPO 500, allowing for large structures to be targeted, but lacking the punch needed for bunkers. Available hardpoints provide for a mix of air and ground-focused weapons, though the Vagrant lacks sufficient firepower to tackle larger ships and strategic facilities. Integrated radar and ECM systems keep the Vagrant relevant in most air attack scenarios, allowing it to detect and engage hostile air assets beyond visual range. However, the Vagrant currently only supports the Scythe missile system, limiting most engagement scenarios to about 15 kilometers. Longer ranges can be achieved with higher altitude, though without stealth capability or superior missiles, the Vagrant is highly vulnerable to long-range attack in these conditions. These factors make the Vagrant more of a low-altitude frontline fighter than anything else. Flexible enough to deal with rapidly changing target sets, fast enough to respond quickly, cheap enough to attack with numbers when needed. While the Vagrant is multi-role capable, its design and engine setup lend themselves particularly well to air combat. Low-speed flight and the ability to turn very aggressively provide significant advantages that are not available on any other platforms in this price range without leaning on mods. Typical combat configurations allow for enough missiles to provide effective deterrence against all detectable aircraft. The Vagrant supports guns on multiple hardpoints, allowing for bullet hell loadouts that can shred anything that peeks across the bore sight. VTOL capability allows for quick and dirty resupply with sufficient logistical support, keeping the Vagrant close and relevant during all phases of an operation. Moderate speed, high fuel economy, and fast overall response and rearm times mean that a small number of Vagrants are capable of significant damage over time, though at the cost of stealth and subtlety. A competent team will recognize this use case and develop effective counter-strategy once the game has been exposed. The front line meanders like a long snake in most encounters. The enemy is always vulnerable somewhere along this point of contact, and Vagrants are particularly well suited to probing strikes and wolfpack tactics. A small wing of these airframes can pick apart moderately sized facilities or devastate enemy armor columns. The key is to move quickly enough to deal damage and fall back to Allied defenses before a counterattack can be mounted. The Vagrant sacrifices armor and engine redundancies, making it fragile and highly vulnerable to all incoming damage, including small arms. Moderate radar and thermal signatures make the Vagrant detectable and easy to engage at close to medium range, keeping pilots at constant risk during operations and making situational awareness critical. Low speed and low altitude flight help reduce this risk at the cost of making the aircraft even more vulnerable when detected. Countermeasure reserves are limited, much like the magazine. The Vagrant is built to strike first and strike fast, or to hold back and support close defensive positions. Outside these conditions, it becomes vulnerable to ambush and missile attrition, often being the first to fold. Pilots looking to counteract the Vagrant need to think ahead of the pack and anticipate their possible targets. Even a basic radar system can detect the Vagrant at range, providing small glimpses of the pack's movements from afar and allowing some level of prediction. Since the Vagrant is limited to subsonic speeds, what surprise it can provide is tightly connected to radar coverage and proximity to Allied resupply points. Lacking stealth and carrying a high heat signature, the best attack pattern will mix thermal and radar guidance to apply maximum pressure with minimal risk from moderate range. MMR-S3 and Scythe missiles make an excellent 1-2 punch that's almost impossible to defeat when fired at close range from a high-energy state. Supersonic interceptor aircraft are ideal for this role, with the Revoker and Vortex being the most capable, though the Ifrit and Compass can perform this task as well. Hunting the Vagrant using stealth is ideal, since its integrated radar system will identify possible attackers from significant distances. Because the Vagrant favors low altitudes, long-range missiles are difficult to apply over terrain, especially around mountains or rolling hills, making the Scimitar, R9 Stratolance, and NL missile systems less practical. However, combat over the open ocean greatly increases the effectiveness of long-range weapon systems against the Vagrant. This means that it's less useful in anti-ship operations, but exceptional at coastal deployments, patrol duty, and long-range ground strike tasks where altitude is at a premium. The VT-7 Vagrant represents an economical, flexible addition to the BDF fleet. While not particularly powerful, its ready availability and ease of deployment make it the first responder in many low to moderate intensity battlefields. While optimized for carrier deployment, the Vagrant adapts quickly to frontline operations where it can linger near troops. This grants the Vagrant exceptional response times despite its lack of afterburners, making it a common sight in most conflicts, ready in a moment and useful across all phases of battle. That's all I have for today. If you made it this far, you probably liked the video. Be sure to show it by clicking in the right place, or you can join the channel for $1 a month. Catch you all later.